Hi, my name is Kashawn Littlejohn, and I am a senior psychology student here at College of Coastal Georgia. Today, I will be presenting my service learning project that I completed in fall of 2020 for Leadership 4000.
Hi, my name is Kashawn Littlejohn, and today I will be presenting my service learning project that I completed for Dr. Fullerton's Leadership 4000 class, Nonprofit and Social Enterprises. For my project, I partnered with Dr. Laura Ridings of Strive Transitional Living. The Strive Transitional Living program is for young homeless girls ages 16 to 22. They assist female clients for up to 18 months to develop skills leading to self sufficiency and independence while providing a safe living environment. Earlier in 2019, they had received a grant to develop a mentoring program. However, COVID-19 put a halt to many of their plans, like it did for a lot of other people. However, if Strive no longer had a functioning mentoring program, they would be in danger of losing their grant. Based on this information, we came up with, for my service learning project, Mentoring in the Midst of COVID-19. The objective of my project was to find a way for effective mentoring to still take place during COVID-19. The main goals were finding something that would be accessible and reasonable. That way, mentoring could continue to happen. The major concern with mentoring was that Strive had a lot of older mentors who did not necessarily feel comfortable continuing to mentor in person. Safety was a major issue. A lot of them did not want to travel. They lived outside of the Glenn County area. They also were not comfortable in entering into other people's homes. Health wise, a lot of mentors or their spouses slash partners had health issues and where they felt they might be at risk for contamination or they did not want to contaminate their spouse or partner. And the other issue was participation. With the mentors, we had to take into account their work schedule. A lot of people had started working from home. So while before many might have worked in Brunswick and would have been able to mentor after work, that was not possible with them working at home. And also, because of COVID-19 putting a halt to the mentoring program, mentee participation had went down. During the course of my research, along with talking with the staff at Strive, I became more aware of certain elements that are required to have a successful mentoring program. Number one, autonomy, which is advocacy for self, pursuit of own goals, positive sense of identity and self-worth. Anything that we did needed to be able to instill this in the girls. Competence, they need to learn life skills, social skills, problem-solving skills. Positive adaptation and functioning. Were they exhibiting healthy lifestyle behavior? If they were in school, what was their academic performance? If they were working, what was their job performance? Anything that was developed needed to take this into account. Also, maintaining human connection. During times of crisis, young people can greatly benefit from social connection and engagement with caring adult and peers. Adaptation during COVID-19 has become necessary. We've all had to find new ways to accomplish things that we normally would take for granted. While using new forms of technology in my work and everyday life, I began to realize that technology was the key to making this happen. Online mentoring, often referred to as electronic or e-mentoring, has grown in popularity as advances in social media and online communication over the last 20 years have given both young people and youth-serving organizations increasing ability to move the work of mentors into the virtual world. Online mentoring is frequently offered to isolated groups of youth as a way of offsetting their distance from potential mentors. It is also increasingly used in traditional mentoring programs to supplement and augment face-to-face interactions. Programs that offer real-time interaction have emerged as a way of connecting participants via video chat or synchronous interaction at specific times. So once I realized that technology was the key to making this happen, it was really about finding what platform would be most beneficial and successful to use. There are a lot of choices out there, and I researched and trialed and errored all of them. I tried Cronus. I did free conference call, Google Classroom, Zoom. I even looked into partnering up with existing mentoring programs that already had their own online apps and portals like iMentor and I Could Be. Some of the roadblocks in deciding what to use was the cost. Because this is a nonprofit, I wanted to make sure that I kept cost in mind. I looked at various platforms that could host a mentoring program. To get one specifically designed, it is costly and timely. To get an app created, it is also costly and timely. Another roadblock, access to technology. That can be a barrier to making virtual relationships work. There are still considerable digital divides in America, and not every child or teen will have access to the hardware, software, and internet connectivity. However, if you have a phone with internet access, which majority of people do, you basically have the world at your fingertips. The know-how. Are the mentors technology savvy? So ease of use was going to be something I needed to take into account, especially with them being older. So what was the solution that I came up with? It was Google for Nonprofits. Google for Nonprofits G Suite is a set of integrated apps that let organizations use their own domain and be more productive, collaborative, and secure. With Google for Nonprofits, you would have access to Google Classroom and Google Meets, which would be two of the key elements that I would be using to create this mentoring program. So after researching and trying out different programs, I came to the conclusion that a hybrid model would be the best solution that would allow for virtual and or face-to-face because we did have some people who still did want to continue with face-to-face. So virtual would consist of video, texting, phone, while face-to-face meetings would take place at the G Street location, which Strive had recently opened. That was a safe and a clean space. How would this work? Mentors would complete online training and get matched with a mentee. The initial meeting would take place at the Strive Center or a safe location that adhered to CDC guidelines. Both parties, they would commit to goals that would be achieved. They would commit to dates and what form of mentoring did they want, whether it was virtual, face-to-face, or hybrid, and both parties would need to be in agreement. After that, the initial dates, resources, and goals would be uploaded to each classroom, and invitations would be sent out for everybody to participate. And then they would meet with their mentee, virtual or hybrid, however they had decided on. So for the hybrid mentoring and the virtual mentoring, I created two different classrooms. One would be a training classroom for the mentors, and then an actual classroom that the mentor and the mentee could use. Now I'm going to show you the template that I created that Strive would be able to use to create their own classroom. After researching what Google Nonprofits and Google Classroom could do, I created a classroom to show as a sample/template. The first class was for all participants who wanted to become a mentor. After receiving interest from anyone interested in becoming a mentor and them having passed their background check, an invitation could be issued inviting them to this class. For the purposes of my presentation, this was created the Strive Transitional Living Mentorship Program. For safety, because of COVID-19, the training sessions would be conducted online. This would cut down on face-to-face interactions and allow people to go at their own pace. So to create this classroom, what I did was I took the PowerPoint of all of their training materials and I converted them to a video. So right now I'll show you a small sample of that. So this was from their mentor training session part one. And as I did it, like I said, I just took their information, converted it to a video. I'm not going to play the whole video for you, but this is just a small sample. So at the end of each video, I also created a small quiz to test each participant on the material covered. So for the basis of mentor training part one, what words are synonymous with the word mentor? So based on their watching of the video, they would answer that question. Mentors provide accurate feedback rather than advice. They would answer that question and then submit. And once they submitted that answer, it would go to the director of the mentoring program, and she would have access and she would know who completed it. I also added other resources that everyone participating as a mentor would need. One of the things I found that they needed was mandatory reporter training. So in here, I provided a link for mandatory reporter training where it says like this course is designed to help Georgia mandated reporters recognize the signs of child abuse and neglect and their legal obligation to report a suspected abuse and neglect and how to make a report. So they would click on this link, it would take them to the page where all the information that they needed to fill out and complete to be certified as a mandatory reporter. Next, I created a classroom for a mentor-mentee match. In it, I listed three goals that they would be working towards. So, as an example for this one, the first goal was applying for college. The second one was resume building, finding a job. And the third one was learning how to budget. I also provided the link where they could schedule and meet and video chat. There was also a link for each mentee to complete at the end of their session. So this was a questionnaire that I created where they would list the name and date that they met, how did they communicate with their mentor, is the mentoring program meeting your needs expectation, and then finally, what goals were they currently working towards. This provided a way to track when mentors and mentees were meeting. Another section that I created was the resource section down here. So in the resource section, it would be specific to each mentee-mentor relationship and also help provide guidance for the mentor. So we talked about budgeting. There were resources in here about budgeting, about how to apply for college, about building your resume. And as I said, this was all just created as a sample slash template of what could be done using Google Classrooms. For mentors who want the face-to-face experience, they could still be at the G Street location at a designated time while following CDC guidelines. And the great thing is they would still have access to the materials and resources that were in the Google Classroom. So they wouldn't be feeling like they were missing out because they weren't doing it virtually. Another main component of the mentoring program is the sense of community. While we are trying to maintain human connection, we still want them to feel united as a group. And unfortunately, COVID kind of prevented group gatherings from happening. But because the internet is a wonderful place and you basically have the world at your fingertips, there were tons of ideas and opportunities that became available for group activities. So they could do an educational tour at countless museums around the world. If they had a movie that they wanted to watch or discuss, Netflix party. They could do karaoke night. There's the option of attending a TED Talk geared towards their age and discussing it afterwards. They could play a game with Kahoot, do online personality tests, and compare. They could do online yoga classes or fitness classes together. So this is just a very limited option of what can be achieved online for group activities, but that way they could still have the sense of community in what they were doing, and they would not feel that because the majority of the mentoring program had transitioned to an online format that they were losing that. So the main benefits of everything I presented today was number one, ease of access and use. The great thing about Google Classroom, Google Meets, and G Suite for nonprofits is that all you need is the email address to access it. Majority of people have an email address. If you don't have one, you can create one using Gmail. Recruitment. This is an easier way to recruit potential mentors. They do not have to come to in-person training. That they can do that online and at their own pace. They will also be able to do their mentoring online so they don't have to worry about their safety. Cost. As I said earlier, that is something I did keep in mind because this is a nonprofit. Google is free. Google Classrooms is free. Google Meet is free. All of the online activities, they are all free, so there is no cost. Endless resources. The world is your oyster. What I've shown was just a very limited amount of what can be achieved with this template and with this program and with group activities. But as long as you have creativity, there are thousands of things you can do. Safe privacy. As I stated earlier, an invitation has to be sent. This is not an open group to everybody who just wants to join. You do not have access to it unless you have been sent an invitation. And even then, there is still a moderator or slash administrator that can remove you. What I've presented here today is similar to what I presented to Dr. Rydens and Jill Johnson at Strive Transitional Living. They were able to see how it worked and it gave them ideas for creating their own. Over that weekend, she was able to create her own classroom. Because ease of use was something I emphasized, she did not have any problems doing this. We also scheduled a date to record her videos so they could also be posted to her classroom. As you have already seen my template, I am now going to show you her finished product of her classroom. So this is their Strive mentoring page that they use for their mentors. So in here up under classwork, hers is a little bit different from mine, but she took the genesis of my idea and used it to work for her. So here up under mentor training required, you'll see mentor training part 1, mentor training part 2. So they have their information that they will go over, and then she created her own quizzes for them to go through. Hers is a little bit more detailed because she actually wants to see that they went through the video. So she's done the same for part 2. They also have the mentor reporter training required, which is the same link that I took you to in mine. And then the mentor profile and survey, so they know that they are matching each person accordingly. And then she has where they will have notes on their mentor and mentee meeting. Up instead of resources, she just included stuff up under group activity ideas for what they can do. And then up under form, she has the mentor and mentee agreement form. And while it's not mandatory, it is useful in helping create boundaries between the mentor and mentee and what everybody is expecting of each other. Up under people, people who have been invited and have completed the training, they show up under that. Thank you for taking the time to watch my presentation today. Through the course of my service learning project, I was able to learn a lot about issues that I wasn't previously aware of. What was emphasized was that there was a need for a program like this. There was a need for a place like Strive Transitional Living Services. Most people assume that there is not a homeless issue in the Glenn County areas because you have Jekyll, St. Simon, Sea Island. However, there are a lot of young women who are either homeless, have transitioned out of foster care, were nowhere to go, or who have been abused. Outside of traditional needs, the main thing they focus on is providing structure and support because it is important for these girls to feel like there's somebody in their corner. Strive Transitional Living is a needed program. I learned a lot by partnering up with them and completing my service learning project. Once I understood what Dr. Rydens wanted, I went to work and tried to find the best solution for them. Through research, trial and error, and hard work, I was able to create something that they could use beyond COVID-19. I am glad that I could be of service to them.